This video is going to cover a very specific topic around updating your JuiceShop container to use the virtual IP address versus the local host. So the first video we covered was under the computer resources, and this was setting up an environment to run JuiceShop. So if you haven't watched that video, I encourage you to go back, because this is some assumptions in the video is that you've already went through this. So I do have a running environment of JuiceShop, and here's the container, here's my Kali Linux machine. So let's go over to the instructions, and some assumptions are that you've watched the video or you understand how to set up JuiceShop, and you are running currently the JuiceShop container with localhost, so it's only accessible within the virtual machine. So I do prefer doing virtual machine usage just to keep separation. So I am running on a Mac. It is using Apple silicone, if you're curious. But so open up the hypervisor on your local machine. So this is the hypervisor. We're going to, we've started Kali Linux, so this my instance is running. So I am going to open up a separate terminal here, and I'm going to type ifconfig. So ifconfig is the one way to get the IP address, and there are a few different network adapters. So there's a Docker adapter, we won't cover that. There's ETH0, this is the one you want, and then there's localhost. So if you ever wondered where localhost, it does have its own adapter. So this IP address here is the one that we're going to start the Docker container. So I'm going to right click on that and put that to the clipboard. I'm going to go back to my running container. I'm going to stop this. So I'm going to hit Control C. So I've typed in ifconfig. I went through step 5. This is the IP address. I stopped it. If you're in some cases, when you start Docker up in the background, if you type in sudo docker ps, it'll show that there is no running containers. If you had started, like in my example here, the container was running interactively. Generally, I think it's the ampersand will put it in the background. But if you do need to stop it, it will give a container ID here. So back in the instructions here, you would type in sudo docker stop, and you would type that container ID. So that's just to stop I included that in the instructions. So let's type in our command here. So let's, I'm going to replace the IP address at 127.127.0.0.1. So I'm going to paste that in there. So now when Docker starts up, it's going to be listening on that different interface, but it will be accessible from my local machine. So let's go back to the instructions here. So we're on 7 where we typed it, we hit enter. So now I have Burp Suite running on my local machine, and let's open up a local browser. So I'll open up a new tab here, and I'll type in the IP address 172.16.133.129 3000. I do have a 133 address there, so I guess it's good to include this from a troubleshooting perspective. So this is, let's type in here, paste it. So I can get at it from local here. So what would be the, it's always good to have videos that, so let's go to the command prompt here and type in ping 172.16.133.129. It does respond to it. So let's do netcat-v 172.16.133.129, and we'll do 3000. It does connect to it. So these are some troubleshooting steps. Reload it. Let me start this is Chrome. Let's try Edge. So something up with Chrome. I'll include this in the video. So not all videos are perfect, but it does show you some of the basic troubleshooting skills that I do to troubleshoot it. So if you run into those kinds of things. So this is actually running on my local machine. And let's go back to the hypervisor. So let's go back to Chrome, and I can browse it locally. So after a little bit of troubleshooting, you do have to go into the history of Burp Suite. So let's go over to Burp Suite here, and another thing, let's do settings. So it is listening here. So one of the things that I do is I will edit this, and I'll put it on all interfaces. So let's say, yep. So now it's going to be listening on all interfaces, and I have intercept turned off. And let's go back to Edge, and let's just browse this here. Go around a little bit, close it. Let's go back to Burp Suite. Let's go back to history. Oh, you do need to browse it within that browser. So that's another thing within the so I do like to show it isn't perfect, but it helps. So now I'm within the Chromium browser, which is included in Burp Suite. So if I come back to Burp Suite, notice I'm starting to get data. So some of this was unplanned, but also I do like real troubleshooting, and this is stuff that you figure out as you go along, and hopefully this helps you out. But this is the ability to run it locally and run it in the VM. So I like the idea of having it separated like that, and in future videos we'll talk about really digging into the results. But hopefully you found this video useful, and including my ad hoc troubleshooting. So any questions listed in the comments, and thank you.